All right, guys, the NBA draft is in the books. We've got free agency coming in just a couple days. I wanted to talk about some of the winners in this draft, and there were a bunch of them, and one real major loser in this draft. I don't think there was a lot, but there was one that we've got to talk about. Let's talk about it now. It's the Hoopsters Show. Okay, guys, that was a fun draft. There were some surprises, not a bunch of like huge surprises, but there was one major thing that I thought was incredible, like just an incredibly bad pick by a specific team. And we'll talk about it first. Let's talk about the losers first. And I really think there was just one major loser in this draft. There was a lot of interesting things, but in terms of just a real loser, it was the San Antonio Spurs. This pick at number 12 for the San Antonio Spurs, they take Josh Primo, one of the, I can't remember if he's the youngest player in the draft or one of, I know he's like one of the top three, if not the youngest player in the draft. He can really shoot the ball and do some nice things, but he's really raw. And there is no for sure indication that Josh Primo has the upside to really turn into much more than a nice shooter in this league. He definitely can shoot the ball. So if all he does and you know, if what his ceiling might be is Bryn Forbes, that's great. Congrats, you have Bryn Forbes, who is a nice NBA role player. He's kind of one of those guys that can come off the bench and come in and shoot the ball. But when you're picking at pick 12, like the San Antonio Spurs were, it's a head scratcher. Josh Primo, according to so many different people, and myself included, did not look at Josh Primo as even necessarily a for sure first round pick. He seemed like someone that you could get in the second round. To pick him at 12 is craziness. I don't know what's going on with the Spurs. It's not a very good offseason for the Spurs, by the way. You've got Greg Popovich for Team USA with Kevin Durant and Damian Lillard losing in Japan multiple times in exhibition. There is no for sure thing that Team USA is going to win the gold medal there at all, if they medal at all. And maybe in a few weeks we'll see they win the gold, and who cares? But it's not been a great look for Pop over in Tokyo. Now that you're in the draft, you can tell that maybe Pop wasn't paying too much attention to draft picks and things like that. Holy smokes. Josh Primo at 12, when you had guys on the board like Moses Moody, I would have rather had Corey Kispert. I mean, honestly, go down the board. Every single pick down this board, except for a few players, I would have rather had. I mean, including up to pick 28, Jaden Springer with the 76ers. I would have much rather had him at 12 than Josh Primo. It's craziness. Josh Christopher, Usman Garuba, Keon, they're just, it's wild to me. It's wild. Why the Spurs made that pick is beyond me. Pop is looking, I mean, it's not a good offseason. It's not been a good couple years for Pop because he lost, 2 years ago with Team USA before. And now we're losing in this team. We're making bad picks. We're losing players in free agency for nothing. It's a rough look for the Spurs right now, and this was a bad pick. If I'm a Spurs fan, I'm pissed because if I can't come out of this draft with at least someone that has some sort of upside, or some sort of, athleticism or someone that you look at as someone that could be a starter eventually. If you're in the lottery, you're trying to get someone a starter. You're not always going to get a superstar or a star or even an all-star, but you should in the lottery, if you do your homework, get someone that could eventually be a starting level player in this league. At the very least, a nice starting role player. And they just did not get that. Congrats on getting Bryn Forbes at number 12 in one of the deepest drafts we've had in a long time. Okay. All right, guys, before we move on, let's talk about manscape.com. Attention listeners across the galaxy, all the way from Australia to Houston. Do we have a pube problem? If so, our friends at Manscaped have cleared you for takeoff with their 4th generation and brand new Lawnmower 4.0. Kick your pubes to the next planet with the Performance Package 4.0. The orbits in your pants will feel like you're in zero gravity when you use the best tools for the job from the leaders in male grooming. Join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get your rocket ready for takeoff by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with HoopsNerd20. Guys, it's free shipping Hoops Nerd 20 gets you 20% off. You're looking at saving like 20, 30 bucks. The Performance Package 4.0 includes the Weed Whacker. It's like having a little astronaut to chop your worst weeds up in top of your nose and your ear. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code HoopsNerd20 at Manscape.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code HoopsNerd20 at Manscape.com. For a clean trinity and beyond, your Spaceballs will thank you. All right, guys, let's talk about the winners of this draft. So, the ones I really want to talk about, absolute winners, is first, it's very obvious. Picks 1, 2, and 3 in this draft were absolute home runs. Cade Cunningham going to the Pistons, Jalen Green going to the Rockets, and Evan Mobley going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. This was a draft that had basically like 3 number 1 picks. So if you got a pick in the top 3, you were golden. You were golden. So the Pistons get Cade Cunningham, who looks like if you designed a wing in 2K that ran your team and that you could build around in the modern NBA, Cade Cunningham is it, with his size, his athleticism, his shooting ability, his ability to make plays. He's just everything you'd want in a leading player. And it's a guy that's unafraid at the end of games to make big plays. The guy wants the ball in his hands, is incredible. The Rockets, they get Jalen Green, who could be just an absolute bona fide scoring champion in the NBA with incredible athleticism. His scoring ability, where he can just get his shot off in any moment, is what you want in a playoff scenario. He's got nice size and, like we said, explosive athleticism. This is a guy that's going to get buckets for you in the playoffs. So when Houston eventually builds up to that level and gets in the playoffs, they've got their go-to scorer as well. And then finally, the Cavaliers kind of lucked out in a little bit because they don't have to make the decision like the Pistons and Rockets did, because Evan Mobley falls to them, and so they know they can just pick him and they won't get any repercussions if they're the Pistons and Rockets and who they pick doesn't quite pan out like you thought. Evan Mobley is going to be an absolute dominant force as on the defensive end, as your rim protecting center who can also go out on the perimeter and switch and block shots, and just an incredible upside in terms of defense. And then offense, their tools are there to become a nice player. Also, the fact that he's just going to fill out and just be Evan Mobley's just going to be an absolute monster in this league. And if people talk about him like Chris Bosh and players like that, absolutely. Maybe just honestly a better defender in a lot of ways. He's going to be absolutely a stud. And honestly, Evan Mobley might be the one that helps you win the most or the quickest, because that defense is going to be there from day one. So the Rockets, Pistons, and Cavaliers were fantastic. I wanted to give a special shout out though to the Rockets, because they had someone fall to them. Let's see, at 23, Usman Garuba falls to the Rockets. And so not only do they get Jalen Green, offensive monster, they get Usman Garuba at 23, who's going to be an absolute defensive force. He is a Draymond Green-like defender who can switch, and we saw what he could do helping upset Team USA when he was just dominating people for Team Nigeria. Absolute awesome draft for the Rockets. If I'm a Rockets fan, you got 2 studs in this draft. Fantastic. I'm excited to watch the Rockets, honestly. Jalen Green is going to get buckets. Usman Garuba is going to defend like a monster. And then, you've got some nice players there already, in Wood that can play. And you've just got the nice makings of building a nice team. And so having that Harden trade, which was painful, it's okay, because guess what? Now you've got building blocks to go. And honestly, Usman Garuba not going in the lottery is kind of nuts. So getting him at 23 when I felt like he was a lottery level talent with his defense, fantastic. Just phenomenal draft for the Rockets. The other team I was absolutely just so happy for was the Orlando Magic, having Jalen Suggs fall to 5. I didn't want to call Toronto losers by passing on Jalen Suggs, because I think Scotty Barnes has a chance to be really nice for Toronto. I think he can develop into a really nice big for them, and the defensive potential with Scotty Barnes is through the roof. He just can't shoot, and maybe he can prove it, and he looks like a guy that can work for it and eventually shoot. And if he can, then he looks like he could be a real monster. But they passed on Jalen Suggs, and I think Suggs is going to be fantastic. And, Suggs doesn't go in the top 4 because I think it's hard to pass on those top 3 guys. But Suggs looks like he potentially could be one of the best players in this draft, if not the best player. It would not surprise me in 4 or 5 years if Suggs has more All-Star appearances than anyone in this draft. He has that type of talent. And so he falls to 5 to the Magic, who for so long have been waiting for that lead guard that can lead their team and get shots and make buckets and just be an absolute leader. He's got the the personality, the leadership, just the fire to win games and just rip the throat out of who you're playing. Like, I love Jalen Suggs. Fantastic. I'm so happy for the Magic, who every year it seems like they just kind of miss out on the guy that they needed to just take things to another level. And they're always getting projects, and they're always drafting guys that hopefully can turn into something. And they got the guy that is, for me, maybe the most for sure thing. Just such a, maybe not so much for sure, more like just the complete package and ready to play. Outside of like Cade Cunningham, I think Jalen Suggs is like the most ready to go, and just he's going to start next year and he's going to be awesome. Don't be surprised if the Magic like make the playoffs next year, because Suggs is going to be awesome. And then not only that, but Franz Wagner falls to 8. I thought Franz Wagner was going to go to the Golden State Warriors at 7. The Golden State Warriors kind of take a swing for the fences with Jonathan Kuminga, who they hope can develop. Good luck. I mean, he might. Kuminga has all the physical tools, but Franz Wagner is one of the smartest guys in this draft. His defensive metrics at Michigan were incredible, and he can shoot the ball, makes great passes, team defense, can move across the court. And so they got Suggs and Wagner, who look like they're going to be guys that can stretch the floor, that can make good passes, that shoot. I mean, this Magic team is going to be really, really fun. They got a chance to be really fun. I couldn't be happier for the Magic, who are one of those teams that just seems like always has bad luck, always just kind of misses out. So that making that trade, and with Chicago and just kind of trading everything out so they could bottom out. They trade Aaron Gordon to Denver. They bottomed out and they absolutely hit a home run. Suggs, Wagner, unbelievable for them. And I just couldn't be happy for them. And they're going to have more opportunities to get better. It's one of those things where Suggs is so good, you hope that the Magic don't get too good too fast, because he is just absolutely a monster. Outside of those guys, there was just a few other honorable mentions I wanted to do. I felt like the Pelicans had a really nice draft that not a lot of people talked about. I mean, they traded with the Grizzlies 10 and 17. We saw that move before the draft happened. The Grizzlies picked Zaire Williams, which, he might turn into something nice. He's definitely going to be a project, but he did not look great at Stanford. And so the Pelicans move back to 17. They take Trey Murphy, who is one of the best shooters in this draft, has great size, is going to be a nice 3-and-D wing. He brings defense, he brings size and shooting. Absolutely perfect next to Zion Williams, who needs people to spread the floor for him to get to the rim. I thought that was actually incredible. And honestly, between the two, the Grizzlies trading up to take Zaire Williams, I personally might have preferred to have Trey Murphy. So if I'm the Grizzlies, I might have just kept the players I had, take Trey Murphy, and you've got that shooter that you would have needed with Ja Morant. Instead, he goes to the Pelicans, and the Grizzlies pick Zaire Williams, who's going to be a project. And if he doesn't pan out, that's rough, because you could have had a guy that seems like a for sure rotation player to me. Like, to me, Trey Murphy reminds me of Robert Covington, and is just going to be a guy that is going to play in the league for like 10 to 12 years and going to be someone who defends and hits threes and a better shooter than Robert Covington, honestly. So that was a really nice draft. And guess what? I am biased. There were two other teams that I wanted to give an honorable mention for. I am biased. I got to talk about the Jazz. The Jazz had the pick at 30, traded back to number 40, and were able to draft Jared Butler at 40. And a lot of people had Jared Butler from Baylor in the lottery. And the Jazz get him at number 40. Absolutely fantastic pickup for them. He is the backup point guard that they were kind of, in all honesty, needed. Someone that can, with a 3-guard rotation of Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley, and Jared Butler. Fantastic. Jared Butler fits into that role perfectly. The other team that I think had a quietly really nice pick that I honestly was surprised this guy fell so far, but Sharif Cooper falls to the Atlanta Hawks. And he fell to 48. And that guy has some of the greatest upside. If Sharif Cooper can shoot the ball, he's arguably the best point guard in this draft. His ability to get to the rim, pass the ball, he averaged more assists than anyone. He had like 12 plus assists games during the season, and in college that's nuts. But 8+ assists, plus he got to the free throw line 8+ times per game. He is lightning fast and he defends hard. He's a tiny bit undersized, and that jump shot needs work. But if he can kind of fix that jump shot and figure it out and just become an average level shooter in the NBA, he is going to be awesome. And he's a starting level talent. So if the Falcons, or not the Falcons, the Atlanta Hawks, the Falcons don't do as well as the Atlanta Hawks. I'll just say that. The Hawks were incredible, and getting that pick at 48 is fantastic. I mean, he's going to contribute for that team. You're going to have times during the season where Trae Young might, miss some games with some sort of injury or rest or something like that. And Sharif Cooper is going to get a chance. And I'm telling you, he's going to look good in that system with all the shooting that they have. He's going to look nice. Guys, that's all I've got to say. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, join the channel and you can join the live streams. We had the live stream during the draft. You could have talked with us. It was a lot of fun. Make sure you hit the bell as well to know when we go live. Guys, this is all I got to say tonight. I will talk to you next time.